My brother Derek has always been the golden child. Star quarterback in high school, full scholarship to Yale, MBA from Wharton, married his college sweetheart in a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. At 34, he was CFO of our family's commercial real estate development company, Chun and Associates, pulling in $380,000 a year plus bonuses. I'm Elena Chun, 2 years younger, and I've always been the disappointment. I dropped out of business school after one semester, told my parents I wanted to find myself, and moved to Austin with $4,000 in savings and a backpack. I worked as a barista, then a property manager's assistant, then started flipping small houses with a partner I met at a real estate investment meetup. The family reactions were predictable. "You're throwing your life away," Dad said when I told him I wasn't going back to school. "Derek is building something. You're just wandering." Mom cried. Actually cried. "What will we tell people? That our daughter is a college dropout working at a coffee shop?" Derek was the worst. He'd call me every few months with advice that was really just veiled insults. "When you're ready to grow up and get a real job, let me know. I might be able to get you an entry-level position. Maybe assistant property manager at one of our buildings." I stopped answering his calls after the third year. Here's what my family didn't know. I wasn't wandering. I was building. That first house flip made me $23,000 profit. The second made $41,000. By year 3, I'd flipped 18 properties and had $340,000 in capital. That's when I stopped flipping and started holding. I bought my first rental property, a small fourplex in an up-and-coming Austin neighborhood, for $380,000. Within 6 months, it was worth $520,000. I refinanced, pulled out my equity, and bought 2 more buildings. The pattern repeated. Buy in emerging markets. Hold for appreciation. Refinance. Repeat. Year 5, I owned 14 properties across Texas, worth $8.7 million total. Year 7, 43 properties across Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. Portfolio value, $34 million. Year 9, I formed Chin Property Holdings LLC and brought on a partner, Marcus Webb, a former Wall Street analyst who'd also left corporate life to build his own real estate empire. Together, we had 127 properties worth $280 million. Year 11, we took the company semi-public through a REIT structure, bringing in institutional investors. Our portfolio expanded to 340 properties across 8 states. Value, $890 million. Last year, year 12, we acquired 2 major commercial developments in Dallas and Phoenix. Our portfolio now included residential, commercial, and mixed-use properties totaling 476 buildings. Current portfolio value, $2.1 billion. My personal ownership stake, 34%. My net worth, approximately $714 million. But to my family, I was still Elena, who dropped out of college and played around with houses in Austin. I never told them. Why would I? Every time I'd try to share good news in the early years, it was dismissed. When I told Mom I'd made $23,000 on my first flip, she said, "That's nice, dear. Derek just got promoted." When I mentioned I'd bought my first rental property, Dad said, "Be careful. Real estate is risky. You could lose everything." So, I stopped sharing. I attended family gatherings maybe once a year, always driving my modest Toyota, wearing normal clothes, talking vaguely about work when asked. I lived comfortably but not ostentatiously, a nice condo in Austin, good but not flashy cars, normal clothes. Meanwhile, Derek lived large. He and his wife Amanda had a 6,000-square-foot house in the suburbs, drove matching Porsches, took elaborate vacations that they documented extensively on social media. They had 3 kids in private school, a country club membership, and opinions about everyone else's life choices, including mine. At family gatherings, Derek would make comments. "Still renting apartments in Austin? That's nice. We just closed on a $140 million mixed-use development." Or, "How many properties do you own now? 5? 6? That's cute. We manage 47 buildings." I'd smile and change the subject. What Derek didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Chun and Associates, the family company he was CFO of, was actually a tenant in one of my commercial buildings. And they were consistently late on rent. The breaking point came 2 years ago, at Thanksgiving. I'd flown home to San Francisco for the holiday, planning to stay 3 days. The moment I walked in, Derek started.
Elena.
Still in Austin? How's what do you call it? Your little property thing? It's going well, I said neutrally. You know, if you ever want to learn how real commercial real estate works, you could come shadow me for a week. I'd show you how the professionals do it. Amanda laughed. That's sweet of you, Derek. Elena could probably use the guidance. Mom patted my hand. It's good that Derek is willing to help you, sweetheart. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. Took 10 deep breaths. Reminded myself that I was a successful businesswoman with a 9-figure net worth and didn't need to prove anything to anyone. But it kept happening. All weekend. At dinner, Derek held court about a deal he'd just closed. $89 million acquisition. I structured the entire financing package myself. Elena, this is the kind of scale you should aspire to. Maybe in 10 or 15 years, if you work hard. On Saturday, he offered to mentor me. I'll send you some of my old business school textbooks. Basic stuff, but it'll help you understand how real developers think. On Sunday morning, as I was packing to leave, he came to my room. Look, Elena, I'm worried about you. You're 32 years old, still doing this small-time landlord thing. Don't you want more? Don't you want to build something significant? I looked at him. Really looked at him. My brother, so certain of his superiority. So convinced I was failing. I'm happy, Derek. That's enough. He shook his head. Happiness is what people say when they've given up on success. You could be so much more if you just tried. I left that afternoon and didn't go back for a year. During that year, Chun Property Holdings acquired a major portfolio in Denver, $340 million worth of properties in a single transaction. I was featured in Forbes and Commercial Real Estate Today. Marcus and I were invited to speak at national real estate investment conferences. My family saw none of it. They didn't read industry publications. They didn't Google my name. They just assumed I was still doing my little property thing in Austin. Then came this year's Christmas invitation. Everyone must attend. Mom wrote in the family group chat. Derek has an important announcement. I almost declined. But my grandmother was getting older, and I wanted to see her. So I agreed to come for Christmas Eve dinner only. I had no idea Derek was planning an ambush. I learned later that Derek's investigation started 4 months before Christmas. Apparently, at a family dinner I'd missed, Derek had ranted about how I was probably lying about owning properties. Amanda had suggested that maybe I was in financial trouble and too proud to admit it. Mom worried I was struggling but hiding it. Dad, ever practical, said, if you're so concerned, why don't you verify her situation? That's when Derek decided to hire a private investigator. He spent $15,000, his own money, he made sure everyone knew, to hire Thomas Reichert, a former FBI financial crimes investigator who now ran a private investigation firm in Boston. Derek's instructions were clear. Find out what Elena Chun really does, how much she makes, what she owns. If she's lying about anything, I want complete financial verification. Reichert took the job. Over 60 days, he conducted surveillance on me in Austin. Pulled public property records across multiple states. Interviewed people who knew me under pretenses. Reviewed business filings and corporate structures. Analyzed financial patterns and ownership structures. Derek was expecting to find that I owned maybe 5 or 6 properties, probably mortgaged to the hilt, making a modest living as a small-time landlord. He wanted proof he could present to the family.
Proof that he was right about me.
Proof that I'd wasted my potential while he'd built something real. What Reichert found was different. But here's the thing about thorough investigators. They investigate everything. And when Reichert started mapping out Chun family business connections, he found something interesting. Derek, as CFO of Chun and Associates, had signing authority on company accounts. Over the past 3 years, there had been a pattern of unusual transactions. Small amounts, $3,000 here, $7,000 there, transferred to personal accounts. Always below the reporting threshold. Always with vague explanations in the books. Reichert, with his FBI training, recognized the pattern immediately. It was called structuring, keeping thefts below detection thresholds to avoid triggering automatic reviews. He dug deeper, requested more records, interviewed vendors, checked invoices against actual deliveries. The $210,000 in missing funds painted a clear picture. Derek had been systematically stealing from the family company for 3 years to fund his lifestyle. Reichert struggled with what to do. His client had hired him to investigate his sister, but he'd uncovered evidence that his client was a thief. Professional Ethics 1. Reichert documented everything in 2 separate reports, and he decided to present both findings simultaneously. I arrived at my parents' house in San Francisco at 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve. The house was full. Mom, Dad, Derek, Amanda, and their 3 kids, Grandma, 2 aunts, 3 uncles, assorted cousins. 23 people total. The energy was strange. People kept glancing at Derek, who looked like he was about to burst with excitement. He kept checking his phone and grinning. "What's going on?" I asked Grandma quietly. She shook her head. "Your brother said he has a surprise announcement. That's all I know." We ate dinner. Derek was unusually quiet, just smiling mysteriously whenever someone asked about his announcement. Amanda kept giggling. After dessert, Derek stood up and clinked his glass. "Everyone, I need your attention. I have something important to share." The room quieted. Derek pulled out his phone. "For years, we've all wondered about Elena. Where she lives, what she does, whether she's really successful or just pretending." My stomach dropped. "I love my sister," Derek continued, his voice dripping with false concern. "But I've been worried about her. So I did what any caring brother would do. I hired a former FBI investigator to verify her situation." Aunt Linda gasped. "Derek, you didn't." "I did. I spent $15,000 of my own money to hire the best. Thomas Reichert, 25 years FBI, specializing in financial investigations. He spent 2 months investigating Elena's finances, her properties, her entire life." Mom looked at me with pity. "Oh, sweetheart." Derek's smile widened. "Mr. Reichert is here tonight. I invited him to present his findings to the whole family so we can finally know the truth and figure out how to help Elena." He gestured toward the front door. It opened, and a man in his 50s wearing a suit walked in carrying a leather briefcase. "This is Thomas Reichert," Derek announced. "Tom, please tell my family what you found." The room was silent. Everyone was staring at me. Cousin Jennifer was recording on her phone. Amanda was practically bouncing with anticipation. I looked at Reichert. He looked distinctly uncomfortable. "Mr. Chun," Reichert said carefully, "perhaps we should discuss this privately first." "No," Derek said firmly. "I want everyone to hear this. We've all been lied to. Everyone deserves the truth." I stayed quiet. I'd learned long ago that the best response to Derek's theatrics was silence. Reichert sighed. He opened his briefcase and pulled out 2 thick folders. One was labeled Chun, Elena, Subject A. The other was labeled Chun, Derek, Subject B. "Wait," Derek said, pointing at the second folder. "Why is there a folder with my name on it?" Reichert's expression hardened. "Mr. Chun, when conducting financial investigations, especially involving family members, professional protocol requires investigating all relevant parties. Given your position as CFO of the family business and your financial relationship with your sister, I conducted a parallel investigation." Derek's smile faltered. "That wasn't what I paid you for." "You paid me to find the truth," Reichert said flatly. "I found all of it." He opened the first folder. Subject A, Elena Chun. Age 32. Current residence, Austin, Texas. 4,200 square foot condominium in downtown Austin. Purchased outright for $2.3 million in 2022. The room went dead silent. Reichert continued. Employment. Co-founder and managing partner of Chun Property Holdings LLC, a real estate investment and management company. The company operates as a publicly traded REIT with institutional backing. Mom made a small sound. Current portfolio, 476 properties across 8 states, including residential apartment complexes, commercial office buildings, retail centers, and mixed-use developments. Properties range from small fourplexes to major commercial towers. Reichert pulled out a document. Total portfolio value according to the most recent third-party appraisal completed November 2024, $2.1 billion. You could have heard a pin drop. Elena Chen holds a 34% ownership stake in the company. Conservative estimate of her personal net worth, $714 million. Her annual income from property cash flows, salary, and distributions, approximately $18 million. He pulled out another document, a magazine.
Forbes.
My face was on page 62 in the America's Self-Made Women feature. Ms. Chen was featured in Forbes last year and has been profiled in Commercial Real Estate Today, Multi-Housing News, and National Real Estate Investor. She's spoken at 4 national real estate conferences in the past 18 months. Aunt Linda whispered, "Oh my God." Derek's face had gone from excited to pale. That can't be right. Check again." Reichert looked at him. "Mr. Chen, I verified everything personally. I reviewed property records in 8 states, corporate filings, tax documents, partnership agreements, and REIT disclosures. I interviewed her business partner, several employees, and property managers. I even attended one of her conference presentations in Dallas under an assumed identity." He pulled out photos, me on stage at the National Real Estate Forum, standing next to Marcus as we accepted an industry award, cutting the ribbon at a new commercial development in Phoenix. Elena Chen is one of the most successful real estate investors in the Southwest. Her company manages over $2.1 billion in assets. She built it from nothing over 12 years. Grandma started laughing. Actually laughing. "Elena, you brilliant girl." But Derek was staring at the second folder. "What's in that one?" Reichert's expression changed. Hardened. "Mr. Chen, this is where things get complicated." Derek stood up. "What do you mean complicated?" "During my investigation of Elena Chen, I naturally examined her business connections. I discovered that Chen and Associates, your family company where you serve as CFO, is a tenant in one of her commercial properties in Dallas. A 10-year lease signed in 2021. Dad spoke up. "Wait, Elena owns that building?" "She owns 17 buildings in Dallas," Reichert said, "including the one your company leases." Derek's jaw tightened. "But that's not the complicated part," Reichert continued. "As part of my due diligence, I examined Chen and Associates' financial health, standard practice, when evaluating a tenant. What I found raised red flags." He opened the second folder. "Over the past 3 years, there have been 147 unauthorized wire transfers from Chen and Associates operating accounts to personal accounts controlled by Derek Chen. Amounts ranging from $800 to $9,400 per transaction, always structured to avoid automatic reporting thresholds." The room exploded. "That's a lie." Derek shouted. Reichert pulled out bank statements. Transaction records from Chen and Associates Bank of America account ending in 4472. Transfers to Chase account ending in 8831. Your personal account, Mr. Chen. Total, $210,000 over 37 months. Dad stood up slowly. "Derek, what is he talking about?" "It's not what it looks like." Derek's face was bright red. "Those were legitimate business expenses." Reichert shook his head.
"No, sir."
"I cross-referenced the internal accounting descriptions with actual vendor deliveries and services. The money was transferred with vague explanations, consulting fees, vendor payments, project costs, but no corresponding invoices, contracts, or deliveries. The money simply went to your personal account." He pulled out more documents. "Furthermore, I found evidence that you used this money to fund personal expenses, luxury car payments, country club dues, private school tuition, a vacation property in Tahoe." Mom sat down heavily.
"Derek, no."
"This is clearly a pattern of embezzlement," Reichert said, his FBI training evident in his clinical tone. "Systematic theft from a family business, structured to avoid detection. Under federal law, this constitutes wire fraud. Each electronic transfer is a separate felony count. Amanda was crying. Derek, tell them he's wrong. But Derek couldn't. His mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. As a former FBI agent, Riker continued, I'm legally obligated to report evidence of felony financial crimes. I contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division 4 days ago. They've been reviewing the evidence. That's when Derek started screaming. You had no right. I hired you to investigate her.
He pointed at me.
Not me. This is illegal. This is justice, Dad said quietly. His voice was shaking. You stole from our family company. From me. From your mother. We trusted you. Derek spun toward me. This is your fault. You did this. You. I did nothing, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken since Reichert arrived. You investigated me. You spent $15,000 to prove I was a failure. You invited your investigator here to humiliate me in front of the entire family. I stood up slowly. All I did was build my business quietly while you assumed I was failing. I never lied to anyone. I just didn't correct your assumptions. Derek's face twisted. You let us think you were nothing. You wanted to think I was nothing, I said, my voice getting harder. Because it made you feel superior. You needed me to be the failure, so you could be the golden child. I looked at Reichert. Thank you for your thorough work. I'd like copies of both reports, please. Already prepared, Ms. Chen. He handed me a USB drive. Everything is documented. That's when we heard the cars outside. Multiple vehicles. Doors slamming. Reichert checked his watch. That would be the agents. Derek ran to the window.
No. No.
The doorbell rang. Dad opened it to find 4 FBI agents standing there. Derek Chin, we have a warrant for your arrest. Christmas Eve 2024 will be remembered in my family as the night Derek was arrested for embezzlement in front of 23 relatives while trying to humiliate his sister. The agents were professional but firm. They read Derek his rights while his children cried, and Amanda pleaded. They took him out in handcuffs while everyone watched in stunned silence. Mom collapsed into a chair. Dad just stood there, looking 10 years older. Reichert approached me quietly. Miss Chun, I apologize for the manner of this revelation. Your brother insisted on the public presentation. You did the right thing, I said. Thank you for your integrity. He nodded. For what it's worth, what you've built is extraordinary. I've investigated many financial professionals. You're one of the most impressive I've encountered. After Reichert left, the family just sat there processing. Finally, Aunt Linda spoke. Elena, why didn't you ever tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked simply. When I told Mom I made $23,000 on my first flip, she dismissed it. When I bought my first rental property, Dad said it was risky. Every accomplishment was minimized or ignored. So, I stopped sharing. I built my company with people who believed in me from the start. My business partner Marcus, my team, my investors, they never doubted me. Why would I waste energy convincing people who were determined to see me as a failure? Grandma stood up and walked over to me. She hugged me tightly. Your grandfather would be so proud, she whispered. He always knew you were brilliant. I felt my eyes burn. Thank you, Grandma. Dad finally spoke. Elena, I don't know what to say. We failed you. I failed you. Yes, I said simply. You did. Can you forgive us? I was quiet for a long moment. Maybe. Eventually. But not tonight. I picked at my coat. Where are you going? Mom asked. Back to Austin. I have a conference call with Tokyo investors on the 26th. We're expanding into commercial development in Japan. As I walked out, cousin Jennifer called after me. Elena, that video I recorded, can I delete it? I turned back.
Keep it.
Or post it. I don't care anymore. I spent 12 years building my empire in secret because I was afraid of judgment. I'm done hiding. I drove to the airport and caught a red-eye back to Austin. Derek was charged with 47 counts of wire fraud, one count for each unauthorized transfer over $5,000. The rest were bundled into conspiracy charges. The evidence was overwhelming. Reichert's investigation had documented everything, and the FBI's forensic accounting confirmed it all. Derek had stolen $210,000 from Chun and Associates over 3 years to maintain a lifestyle he couldn't actually afford. His CFO salary was $380,000, but after taxes, Amanda's spending habits, 3 kids in private school at $45,000 each, the country club membership, the Porsches, the oversized house, the Tahoe property, they were underwater. So, Derek stole to fill the gap. He tried to fight the charges. Hired an expensive lawyer. Claimed the transfers were legitimate business expenses that were just poorly documented. Blamed the family company's loose accounting practices. It didn't work. He was convicted on 32 counts. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in federal prison. Amanda divorced him 8 months into his sentence. She got the house, the kids, and most of his remaining assets. He'll be out in 2027 with nothing. Chun and Associates nearly collapsed from the scandal. Dad, as CEO, faced intense scrutiny. The board demanded a full audit. Several major clients pulled their contracts. Dad called me 3 months after Derek's conviction. Elena, the company is struggling. We've lost $47 million in contracts. We might have to close. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. Would you consider helping? Maybe a loan or…
No.
Silence. Dad, Derek stole from your company for 3 years, and you didn't notice. That's not bad luck, that's bad management. I'm not investing in a failing business with poor controls and worse judgment. I understand, he said quietly. I had to ask. I know. They ended up selling Chun and Associates 9 months later. It was acquired by a competitor for $23 million, a fraction of what it had been worth. Dad and Mom split the proceeds and retired. The family split down predictable lines. Some members, mostly Derek's friends and Amanda's family, blamed me. She should have told Derek she was successful. She let him embarrass himself. She could have stopped the investigation. These people are no longer in my life. Others reached out with genuine apologies. Grandma, Aunt Linda, Cousin Michael, and a few others who acknowledged they'd misjudged me for years. I accepted their apologies but kept my distance. I attend major family events, Grandma's birthday, important weddings, but I'm not close with any of them except Grandma. Mom and I talk maybe once a month now. Surface-level conversations about weather and recipes. She's never directly apologized for the years of dismissal, but she did send a card after the Forbes article came out. I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. It's something. Dad and I have a more honest relationship now. He admitted he failed me as a father, that he was too focused on Derek's conventional success to see my unconventional path. We're working on rebuilding trust. It's slow, but it's progress. Derek writes me from prison occasionally. The letters are always the same: excuses, self-pity, vague apologies, and thinly veiled requests for money. I don't respond. Amanda reached out once, asking if I'd help with the kids' education expenses since Derek couldn't. I sent her the contact information for financial aid offices and scholarship programs.
She didn't ask again.
Chun Property Holdings just closed our largest deal yet, a $680 million acquisition of a commercial portfolio in Seattle and Portland. Our total portfolio value is now $2.8 billion. Marcus and I are expanding internationally. We have projects in development in Tokyo, Singapore, and London. The company employs 347 people. My personal net worth crossed $900 million last quarter. I was invited to speak at the Yale Real Estate Conference, Derek's alma mater. I accepted. The irony was delicious. I'm dating someone, Ryan, a venture capitalist who built his own firm from nothing and understands what it's like to succeed despite skepticism. He's brilliant, kind, and treats my success as normal rather than threatening. We're talking about getting married next year. When we do, it'll be a small ceremony in Austin with my chosen family, Marcus, my team, true friends, and Grandma. I think about that Christmas Eve sometimes. The moment Derek announced his investigation with such confidence. The look on his face when Reichert opened those two folders. Part of me wishes it had happened differently. That Derek had been proud of me instead of threatened. That my family had believed in me from the start. But another part of me knows the truth. I didn't build my empire for their approval. I built it for me. Every property I acquired, every deal I closed, every risk I took, I did it because I believed in myself, even when nobody else did. Derek spent $15,000 to prove I was a failure. Instead, he proved I was exactly who I said I was all along, a successful real estate investor who built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. Just not the person he wanted me to be. And that was his mistake, not mine. I received a letter last week from Reichert, the investigator. He'd followed my career trajectory and wanted to share something. Ms. Chun, in 25 years of investigating financial professionals, I've seen many types of success. Most impressive is watching how you've continued to grow your empire with integrity while your brother's fraud destroyed his life. You didn't just build wealth, you built character. That's rare. I framed that letter. It's in my office next to my Forbes feature, my conference awards, and a photo of me and Grandma at my Austin condo. Reminders that success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right.